Good evening, everybody. Oh, Marmalade, you silly boy. I love you. I love you, but I'm busy. Okay, give me a few minutes. It's okay. Come here. You can be right here. It's okay. No, Marmalade, right here. Right here. That's your spot. Okay. You're fine. I'm still petting you. You're okay. All right. Anyways, welcome to CatSCAN News. It is July 3rd, 2026. And yes, I have Marmalade here with me wanting attention, and he's gonna get it. He is getting it. Let's see. Well, let's see, that's Twitter right now. Let's see what's on YouTube. There was oh, was it something from here? Hey, I want to see. Let me check. Oh, well, this is, yeah, we will start our first minute's kind of nonsense, but why not? So, okay, Marmalade, you're fine. I'm not gonna stop. You're fine. Switch, and here we go. This one. This one is so stupid, honestly, but we'll start off strong.
Saw this tweet going around and I'm like, how is this even possible? So the OP says, woke up to being called a misogynist, a fake Christian, and a PDF because I prefer modesty. So this is what offended people. Says, bring back modesty, captioned, in a world full of nudity, I want my girl to dress like this. And that's literally it. That's the picture. Oh my gosh. Offensive. No, literally, how are people mad at this? Let's take a look at some of these comments. Guys going shirtless don't get anyone complaining, so why do girls wearing whatever clothes they want get so much backlash? Christian weebs gotta be the worst kind of archetype, I swear. But then things got even crazier because a bunch of people who advocate for Sharia law then tried to use this as an own against the OP or something. And I'm like, what is going on here? How is this real? See, look at this. It says the kafar yearn for Sharia. Kafar, I guess, is like a non-believer or something. I just had to look that up. So, if you want your woman to look like this, you're not forcing her. You prefer a modest look, and again, you're not forcing her. Well, you might as well just want Sharia law at that point. Just join the Sharia law advocates. Like, dude, what are you even saying? That's crazy. There's more. Cool. Now let women wear headscarves, please. Headscarf is referring to a hijab. What's this one? Look at this one. Listen here, you Christians. Shut the frick up. Instead of whining on Twitter, go to your dang Sunday mass, you idiots. Women can wear whatever they want.
First off, not all Christians are Catholics.
Just shut your dang mouths and repent. Okay, dude. What's wrong with your brain? Holy smokes. How do you see this and you go off like that? There's more. The Goyim think this is modest. Yeah, because she's still like got her head uncovered. So they're like, oh, you haven't seen true modesty. Oh, and her hands and wrists are uncovered. Oh my gosh, we can't have that. In a world full of nudity, there's something that kind of counteracts that perfectly and has been around for centuries, but you do you. I'm pretty sure they're referring to Sharia law again. And then right here you can see breaking news. Christian extremists are demanding Sharia law in the United States. How are these people so disingenuous? That's actually insane. Bro simply has a stylistic preference and these people are like, oh, you're a Christian extremist. And or, well, see, this is why Sharia law is good. It's the same thing. Like, dude, it's not the same thing at all. But yeah, Twitter is freaking insane, bro. Be safe out there, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's just some craziness.
Hola, chat. ¿Puedes poner mi pelo con los colores de la selección argentina? Pero que se vea natural, ¿eh?
That's it. He did not say they have to or they must. It's what they want. I mean, how many people wouldn't want to eat donuts all day and not gain weight from it? Like, seriously. You wanting something is just that. It's something you want. He did not say he would force anyone to. It's just what he wants. That's it. But people gotta make stuff. Oh, Marmalade, I love you, buddy. I love you. Oh, let's see. Wasn't there something from Tozy? I want to see too. What?
They lost a $200,000 home because of a $2,000 tax bill that they might have not even owed. What? Yes, this is a real thing that happened to this Michigan family, and their fight has now reached the highest court in the country. And this story genuinely had me stumped for a second, because every time I thought I kind of figured out what was going on, more details came out, and I was like, okay, what's going on here? So apparently it all starts with a tax bill of just $2,241.93. Not $22,000, not $222,000, just $2,241. And somehow that number eventually led to a Michigan family losing a home that had been assessed for tax purposes at nearly $200,000. So obviously, if you're thinking, okay, there's got to be more to the story, yeah, you're absolutely right, because there is a whole lot more to the story. So this whole case revolves around the Pung family and their house in Isabella County, Michigan. 35 years ago, Timothy Scott Pung bought a 3-bedroom house where he and his wife raised their family. According to the Pacific Legal Foundation, which now represents the family, the house gave them exactly what most people hope for when they buy a house: stability, memories, and something to pass on to the next generation. So after Scott unexpectedly passed away in 2004, and his wife later on passed away in 2008, Scott's son Mark continued living in the home with his own wife and young child. So far, incredibly sad story, but at least it was a home that could stay within the family and keep family memories alive. But the problems didn't start until after the county decided the family no longer qualified for something called Michigan's principal residence exemption. Basically, it's a tax exemption that's available for qualifying primary residences, and the Pung family believed the exemption should continue because family members were still living in the home. But unfortunately, the local tax assessor disagreed. So now, this wasn't just like one of those situations where someone shrugged and said, fine, whatever. No, the family actually challenged the decision before the Michigan Tax Tribunal, and they actually won. So according to the tribunal, because family members and beneficiaries of the estate continued living in the house, they didn't have to file additional paperwork to keep the exemption. So, at that point you would think, okay, everyone just packs up their legal folders and, continues on with life. Maybe an awkward handshake or two. I don't know. But apparently, no, that didn't happen. So according to court filings, the assessor denied the exemption again anyway? What?
I can tell stories about, property, how they deal with property, the county clerk and all that nonsense. They will do it at the county level, but that was in Oregon and this is Michigan, so I'm just gonna keep watching.
How could they do that? So the Pacific Legal Foundation even points to a testimony where, after being reminded about the earlier ruling, the assessor responded, I don't care what he says, the law says that you do. What about the ruling? Ooh.
Summer's here and just announced. Get 0% financing for 5 years.
What? This is the problem with this story. So much of it just doesn't make sense. It just seems so incredibly unfair to the family. What kind of government official responds like that after losing? That just doesn't make sense whatsoever. But from there, the dispute snowballed out of control. The family says the county treated the property as delinquent over a tax bill that they never should have owed in the first place. So Isabella County, meanwhile, argues that the family had years to resolve the issue, received repeated notices, and failed to pay the taxes the county believed were due. So right away, you've got two completely different versions of the same story. And unfortunately for the Pungs, while everyone was arguing about who was right, the foreclosure process just kept moving forward. Now, before we get to the Supreme Court, we need to talk about what actually happened to the house, because this is where the numbers start looking very bizarre. So the county eventually foreclosed on the property over what had grown into about $2,241 in tax debt. And remember, this wasn't some abandoned house that's been sitting empty for like 20 years. No, Mark Pung, his wife, and their young child were living there, and they were ultimately evicted from the house. Then Isabella County put the property up for public auction. I can only imagine how frustrating this is. Property tax rate in Isabella County. Wow, that's a high property tax rate, 1.36. Essentially, it seems like they're foreclosing on the house for 1 year of owed property tax. That's quick. Unfortunately, I think this is one of those situations where you kind of just have to pay that property tax and appeal it, and then wait for the appeal process to go through, so you just don't lose your house, because I can only imagine being displaced from your house would cost a whole lot more than that tax bill. What an overall nightmare for the family, though. But it gets so much worse because, you know, the house, which the county had assessed for tax purposes at roughly $200,000, it sold for $76,000. The house sold for 40% of its assessed value. Now, obviously, before anyone jumps to the comments saying like, well, that's assessed value, that's not the same as market value, you're absolutely right. They're not identical. So counties themselves will tell you that the tax assessments don't reflect on what a home would sell for on the open market. But here's the part that made a lot of people raise some eyebrows because, you know, about 18 months after buying the house in that auction, a new owner sold it again, this time for $200,000, back to what the house was, you know, assessed for when they got hit with that property tax bill. So that difference is nearly, you know, $119,000 between buying it and obviously it was bought by a flipper. But I digress. After the Supreme Court's 2023 decision in Tyler v. Hennepin County, which we'll get into a minute what that really is, the county couldn't keep every dollar from the sale. Instead, the Pung family ultimately received about $73,000, which was essentially the auction price minus the taxes and other amounts the county said were owed. But the family argued that this wasn't enough. They were saying, give us the whole $195,000, because they were saying, if you're going to take our home, you shouldn't get to value it at one number for tax purposes, sell it for far less at a government auction, and then tell us that that low auction price is all it's worth. In other words, they believe they should be compensated based on what the home was actually worth, not what happened to come out of a foreclosure auction. And that's essentially the question that eventually landed in front of the United States Supreme Court. So when the government takes and sells your home, what exactly counts as just compensation under the Constitution? And to understand why this case ended up in front of a Supreme Court, we kind of have to rewind a couple of years because...
And I hope most of you know what eminent domain is. I don't know if he'll talk about it or not.
This wasn't exactly the first time the justices had actually dealt with a case like this, because in 2023, the Supreme Court unanimously decided a case called Tyler v. Hennepin County, which is the one I mentioned earlier. That case involved a 94-year-old Minnesota woman named Geraldine Tyler, who lost her condo over unpaid property taxes. Here, the county sold her property for about $40,000, and the problem was that only around $15,000 of that money was actually needed to cover those taxes, penalties, and interest, and I guess costs. So I guess the government just decided to keep the rest. So thankfully, the Supreme Court looked at that and unanimously said, no, that's not acceptable. So justice after justice agreed that while the government has the power to collect unpaid taxes, it can't use a tax debt as an excuse to take more property than what it's owed. Or as Forbes said it, Tyler established basically the government can collect taxes, but it cannot use a tax debt as an excuse to take more property than it's owed. And obviously, this was a huge property rights victory. So when the Pungs brought their case, everyone naturally assumed that it would be another Tyler case, except it wasn't. See, after Tyler, Isabella County didn't keep every penny from the auction. The county returned the surplus proceeds from the sale, roughly, $73,766 after subtracting the tax debt. So the legal question, I guess, changed. Instead of asking, can the government keep the extra money, the Pungs were asking, what if the auction itself produces a stupidly low price? Like if your home is actually worth close to $200,000, but a tax foreclosure auction only brings in $76,000, should the Constitution require the government to compensate you based on what your home was really worth? Or is the auction price good enough? And believe it or not, there wasn't a clear answer to that question, because that's why this case made it all the way to the highest court in the country. So what did the Supreme Court actually decide? Well, if you've seen some of the headlines, you might think the court basically said, yeah, the government can sell your house for whatever it gets at auction. So that's not exactly what happened. So writing for a unanimous Supreme Court, Justice Samuel Alito said that if a tax auction is ran fairly, the government doesn't have to pay the former owner what the home was worth on the open market. Instead, the court said the starting point is usually whatever the home actually sold for at auction, not what it might have been worth under different circumstances. But there's one part of that decision that's really important. The court kept saying if the sale is fairly conducted. So yeah, that's not really a slam dunk for either side. The Pungs lost on the argument that homeowners should automatically receive fair market value, but they won something pretty important too. So their case isn't over. And this is obviously despite all the headlines saying the Supreme Court ruled against the family. That's, I guess, only half the story. Because the biggest question, the one that's specific to this foreclosure, is waiting to be answered. And then, of course, you get to the part about the opinion that made me do a double take. Now, even though the Supreme Court ruled against the Pungs and the big question they brought to Washington, there was still something that really stood out to me. Some of the justices basically said, hang on, we're not saying everything that happened here is okay. So apparently Justice Clarence Thomas pointed out that the Pungs had already won part of their fight over the tax exemption, but the foreclosure still happened anyway. So Thomas wrote, what Isabella County did to the Pungs was wrong, and on my initial view, likely unconstitutional. And that's a pretty big thing to hear from a Supreme Court justice. So if you're sitting here wondering, wait, if one of the justices think this was, likely unconstitutional, how did the family lose? Well, the Supreme Court wasn't deciding on whether Isabella County handled this foreclosure correctly. It was answering a different question. The question was, if a tax auction is fair, does the Constitution require the government to pay someone based on what their house might have sold for on an open market? The court said no, but it also said it wasn't deciding whether this auction was actually fair or not. That's now going back to lower courts. So the next fight is about whether Isabella County's foreclosure and auction were fair enough in the first place. To me, it doesn't seem like the foreclosure is fair, especially based on the earlier ruling they seemingly ignored. But I guess no matter where you land on this case, the numbers are hard to ignore here. So you have a disputed $2,000 tax bill, a house in a county that's valued roughly at $200,000. Then obviously the county seized that house from them. They foreclosed on it. Then they sold it on an auction. It sold for $76,000 on an auction to most likely some flipper who then sold the house again for the market value of about $195,000 about a year and a half later. Now, obviously, I don't know the details. This guy could have put a whole bunch of work into the house. And then, of course, it was a year and a half later. So, real estate markets in the US have generally trended upwards, but they haven't trended up enough to where it's going from $76,000 to $200,000. I mean, that is a crazy increase right there. So he must have put a lot of work into it, or he just got one hell of a steal in auction and that house is actually worth $200,000. And that's kind of what the family was alleging here. There's just a whole bunch of variables in this case, but it's just hard to not come to the conclusion that the Pungs were done wrong by the county here. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.
Superior flavor doesn't just happen. It's crafted. It's why we venture to the furthest parts of the planet to bring exceptional taste to your table.
Yeah, they should have gone to court to get the house back. That is my thing. If they had the county had no legal standing to foreclose on, then, they should get everything. They should get it back. And, oh no, okay, let's done with YouTube. Want to go to see what's going on with the news. Oh, the class over here. Oh, that's some stupid stuff going in. Oh, yeah, my mommy can shove it. I don't care. Just in case you weren't sure. Yeah, tomorrow. Oh, anything going on in Mount Rushmore? What's going on? Oh, hell. Jeez. Okay, weather. Weather happens. Sometimes it might be. Sorry for the yawn. It might be a divine sign. It might not be. And what's going on with Egypt? Is it the World Cup? Okay. Alright. Well, if that's true, that doesn't bode well, but what's the context? And good. Good. Someone's too. Yeah, well. Yeah. Bad news for Dallas police. They need, yeah, gatekeeping. You need to will weed the bad seeds out. That's the phrase I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I have feet, Marmalade. They probably do. Well, they shouldn't smell. I did take a bath today. Don't start with me. Prime Day, yeah. I thought Prime Day was this month. Yeah, well, people saying Amazon Prime Day is a scam, basically. Guam and Poland. Uh, I'm being polite. I'm gonna start. Oh, a typhoon. Ooh, equivalent is equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane, still getting stronger. Okay. Right. And this says, yeah. Oh, this was from 5 years ago. Oh, never mind. This was from 4 hours ago. Let's go look that up. It was 4 hours ago. Yeah. We'll see. And here it is. And there's the Philippines. And they're like banding together. 2 hours. Where is it right now? Okay. 9 minutes. Estimated winds of 140 knots. Not good. Mostly being centered between Guam and Saipan, South Tinian. Yeah. Pardon me. And okay, but yeah, I did get that. And where is it now? Oh, 400 miles. Okay. Oh, whenever this was, it was 400 miles away, and it's going 10 to 15 miles an hour. So 40 hours. Hmm. Is that zoom Earth? Okay, let's see. Well, the Northern Mariana Islands. Getting part of it, not the main thing. You see just the tail end of it here. Okay. There's that. And then yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what else. Okay, let's see what else is going on, because it was supposed to go on Poland. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Oh, breaking U.S. warns Poland that Russia is preparing an armed provocation. Belarusian troops could be involved. They're being careful. Well. Mm. Just about the fight, okay. Okay, U.S. is saying Poland, well, not really. World War III. No, thank you. Now let's go and oh, no, there's anything major cute. Oh, first, one more, last. I want almost 2,300. So still nearly 50,000 missing. Yeah, now let's get our cute thing. See what this is.
Top 10 cutest baby animals in the world. Trust me, you won't believe the last one. 10. Baby dog. Too small to bark, big enough to steal hearts.
Oh, I'm just gonna mute this because it's too loud and I don't like the voice. I just want to see the I just want to see the animals. Oh, Fennec, that's a Fennec fox. The first one. Kitty! Yes. And I just redoing these. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, now that does look AI. Okay. That's a puppy. Why can't you say that? It is puppy. See, yeah, okay, yeah, this was a... Crap, now I'm repeating it. Okay, that actually wasn't a good choice because it wasn't... It did not have the right things. Oh, that's regular mint, not a camel. Oh, that's too long. Is there a short one? No, what? Right. Mm, mm, mm. This one. Yeah. Oh, so happy. Oh, so big. Oh, so thirsty. Mm. Red pandas. Oh, I've seen the dog and the puppy and the ducks before. Yeah, look at that. Owl. Yeah. The Highland cows. I want them. Chunky. Oh yeah. Yes, I just love animals. A Maine Coon. That was a Maine Coon cat, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, okay, now to peep blessings. Well, I'm pretty sure I will lose my phone service tomorrow, so I am sorry. Well, I mean, I still have internet, so that's okay, and I'll just deal with it. But yeah, not happy. So, just gotta deal with it, and that blessings, you know, like tomorrow's 250th anniversary, and I think pretty much the first thing I do when I wake up, besides going to the bathroom, is then come back and I start watching the end of Independence Day. And then, starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, Texas time, I will be live streaming for a couple hours to read the founding documents, just like I did 2 years ago. And I will have, each of my VTuber models do one document. Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. My ex-druid will do exiled druid. She's still a druid, just exiled. She will do the Declaration of Independence, which being exiled, I felt was kind of fitting for her to do that. Then the Constitution by my green-haired model, Leanna, because yes, when I get the money to be able to get the steampunk outfit for her, I'm gonna, my steampunk, because she's now going to be a steampunk queen. She will, shoot, her doing the government's not mandates, the mandates about what the government can and can't do. More specifically, what they can't do. I felt that's appropriate for her to read. And so that means this model, Eleanor Posley, will do the Bill of Rights as just a regular citizen. Because that is fitting. It's going to take some doing, I think, to get them. I might have to like pause stream just to switch. Or just go to one of like the starting soon. Well, yeah, I can just go starting soon screen to change. Well, I'm changing the models. Duh, I forgot about that. Yeah, it's gonna be weird going back and forth, but that's the plan for tomorrow. And take care, everyone. Enjoy your weekend responsibly. Good night and God bless.